Hallo zusammen, willkommen in Frankfurt and das ist der new Genesis GV60. So the wait is finally over. After nearly 12 months of reintroducing themselves back into Europe, we finally have the Genesis GV60, the brand's first bespoke electric vehicle and one of three coming in 2022. Now underneath the GV60 we have got Hyundai Group's Global Electric Modular Platform, which we've already seen demonstrated with the Ionic 5 and EV6, and they've been hugely successful cars. Both of them in fact getting Car of the Year with various publications. So it's now the turn of Genesis to see what they can do with this platform, and I'm here in Frankfurt for the car's media launch. So yeah, let's crack on and see what this car is all about. Now I haven't got the GV60 for too long because I am on its media launch, so let's go over the style headlines. So Genesis quad lights and tail lights, check. The crest grille, albeit lower down, check. An integrated spoiler and aerodynamic rear end, check. A very funky and unique volt signature on the C-pillar to make it very distinctive and let you know it's an electric car, check. And finally, a very unique and distinctive looking car which, although being on the same platform as the EV6 and Ionic 5, looks very different to them. Check. All in all, I actually think this is a gorgeous car. There's a wide variety of colours and trims available, particularly for the interior. And I actually think this will appeal to young families and couples who are kind of wanting something very different and very quirky. But let me know what you think in the comment section below, what you think of the styling of the GV60. But on that note, let's very quickly go and have a little look on the inside. So sat in the front of the GV60, you are greeted with a very premium and very comfortable interior. And I'll be honest, if you have looked at the Kia EV6 and Ionic 5, yes, there is a slight family feel to them. However, it just feels far more special in here than it does those other two cars. Now, because I kind of class these as mega hatchbacks rather than crossovers or SUVs, it does mean you've got a slightly raised driving position. So as a result, getting in and out of the GV60 is really easy. And then once you're sat in these seats, you do find they are really lovely. Plenty of adjustment in them, and they are just very comfortable. I'm going to go as far as to say that these are proper bear chairs. Now, they are fully electrically adjustable, as well as the steering wheel, so getting the perfect driving position is easy. Now, when it comes to interior quality, this is where you definitely see the difference between Genesis and Hyundai and Kia. So, firstly, everything has a premium touch to it. There is leather here on top of the dash. This is actually metal trim here on the dashboard and here on the center console. And we've also got Alcantara here on the headlining and also on the A-pillar and the door panel. In fact, the only place you can find hard scratchy plastics is lower down on the console, but definitely out of your eye line. So everything that you are going to touch in the GV60 just feels of a premium quality, and again makes it feel special compared to the Ionic 5 and EV6, and definitely a few of its other key rivals as well. You'll definitely feel like you're in a premium car driving about in the GV60. Cubby spaces in the GV60 are actually really good. We've got some decent sized door pockets so you can get a medium sized bottle of drink in there, but they're not lined with any fabric, so loose items will rattle around a bit. Now, just like the other Hyundai Group cars, we have got a cubby space here in the front of the center console, and it's perfect for putting your phone there. And actually, I love the fact that you can leave your phone in there and have it plugged in with a USB-C charging input, of which we've got two, and a 12-volt socket. As I mentioned with the Ionic 5, because of new UK laws, it's actually really nice to know that you can keep your phone out the way and you can't kind of reach down and grab it whilst you're on the move. Then we have on the center console, or on the dash here, we have got two cup holders, and they are rubber lined with a couple of plastic grippers which can hold a coffee cup or something like that in place. But if you've got a small bottle, it will rattle around whilst it's sat there. Then just behind there we have got wireless charging, and we have got underneath the armrest a bit of additional storage, and it has got a bit of fabric there which is actually really quite nice, so you can put perhaps your wallet or some loose change. Then underneath this center console we actually have like a weird kind of cubby area which has netting on there, so you can store items, and actually it's quite good for security reasons because no one can really see it, so I do like that feature. And then finally, just like the Ionic 5, we have got not a glove box butter glove drawer. Now it's not lined with fabric, but it is lined with rubber, so again loose items shouldn't really make too much noise, but I do love that feature. And then finally, yes, we have got a little space here to put your sunglasses whilst you're on a long journey. So all in all, when it comes to the cubby spaces and features here in the GV60, it is actually really good. And as I say that, I've just noticed there's also a little bit here which I actually think is perfect for putting a mobile phone perhaps in there, and that is rubber lined, so that's actually quite a nice unique little cubby space there, and I've only just noticed it. So yeah, all in all actually, cubby spaces in the GV60 are really good. Now when it comes to the infotainment system and the digital dash, so we've got two 12.3 inch displays. Now of course the digital dash is not a touchscreen, but the infotainment system is. Now I'm not going to go too into detail with it, as I said I've not got the car for long, but it is very responsive. You've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and yeah, it feels very easy to use when on the move. I do love the digital dash, and I've also got a heads-up display, which is something you get with the Innovation Pack, but all in all it just kind of works together in a really nice and intuitive manner. And then when it comes to kind of physical buttons, we've actually got a few of them in here which I really do like. So for the infotainment display, we have got right here a number of shortcut buttons which are very handy. We have got some touch sensitive buttons for the dual zone climate control, but I really do like the way it's set out, and it's something I remember seeing on the GV80. Then here on the center console we have got a couple of buttons again for the media system, namely for volume, for tuning, and then kind of go into the home and menu screen. Then behind there we have got the touchpad and rotary dial for again operating the infotainment system, so it's really nice to know that there are various ways of operating that system. So it is actually really intuitive, and you can basically pick the best way you want to operate it and then just take it from there. Now behind there we have got the crystal sphere because the car is turned off, but when you turn the car on it does rotate 180 degrees and you do get your drive select, or should I say kind of, yeah, your gear select, so drive, reverse and neutral. And then finally we have got a few buttons here just behind there. Now these operate some of the nice convenience features. So we've got your heated and ventilated seats, you've got a heated steering wheel, auto hold for the electric handbrake, and then you've got your parking sensors and 360 cameras. So all nice and handy right there for you. And then on the steering wheel, nice and easy, left hand side, adaptive cruise and trip computer menu select. And then on the right hand side is your audio and communication buttons. And then we've got two other buttons here. One of them is your drive mode select. You've got your usual eco, normal and sport. For some reason I forgot about it there. And on the right hand side we have a boost button as well, so you get all of that electric power for a few seconds, which is very handy. So yeah, it's actually really nicely laid out when it comes to the buttons and the features. As you can see, yes, we have got the cameras for wing mirrors on this particular car, and do you know what, I actually like where they're kind of positioned on the door. It's not too alien and you don't find yourself looking too far out of the reach if you're used to conventional wing mirrors. So yeah, very quickly, the interior of this new GV60 is absolutely lovely. There's plenty of features, plenty of kit, and it feels very intuitive and easy to use, which is of course something that's very important on a car like this. Not to mention, it just feels like a quality product in here. If it looks like metal, it is metal, and if it looks like Alcantara, it is Alcantara, and that's what one of the guys from Genesis said to me. And also, yes, it looks like leather, it's leather. So yeah, I really do love sitting here in the front seat of the Genesis GV60. However, okay, it's time to go sit in the back and see what those rear seats are like. Sat in the back of the GV60, it's actually very spacious and very comfortable back here and full of features. Now firstly, that driver's seat is set to my driving position. I'm 5'7" tall and 5'7" wide, and as you can see, I've got a good amount of knee room, and headroom is not too bad as well, even though I have got that sunroof. Now I would mention that if you are 6 foot tall you might feel a little bit cramped, but it doesn't feel claustrophobic because of the light interior in here. Now when it comes to cubby spaces, it's actually pretty good. We've got decent sized door bins so you can get a medium sized bottle of drink in there. We've also got a little additional cup holder so you can put a small cup of coffee in there. Now we have got, of course, yes, the traditional aeroplane pockets on the back of the front seats. But we've also got this weird kind of area where you can stow away some items, maybe some electronic devices, maybe like a little handbag or purse. But I love the fact there's some netting there to stop it kind of falling out. And you also got the same on the front there, as I mentioned earlier. So that's really handy. And then of course we have got your armrest, which comes down to unveil a couple more cup holders. Now next we have the features back here in the GV60. So firstly, the outer seats are heated and controlled using a little button here on the door. We have got two USB-C charging inputs. I have got the ability to move the passenger seat if I need to perhaps fix a child seat into the back of the car. And speaking of children, of course, yes, we've got ISOFIX supports on the outer seats, and they're not covered with any plastic covers, so it's easy to affix a chair. Then lastly, we have got a couple of blinds, which you can actually put up there as well to stop the sun coming in, even though the windows are also tinted. So I actually kind of like that feature. Now, one thing I do want to mention as well is that this particular car has got the Bang & Olufsen premium sound system, and I had one of the guys from B&O give me a demonstration of the speakers and how they work and basically what you can do to the sound in here. All I'm going to say is it is mightily impressive, and yeah, I can't wait to listen to some tunes when I'm driving this back to the hotel. But all in all, it feels very comfortable back here. Yes, it's not the most spacious, and actually something else I'll mention is that you can't quite get your feet underneath the front seats to kind of stretch your legs out. So if you are a taller person, you might feel a little bit cramped, but for everyone else, you're absolutely fine. And again, the quality back here is absolutely lovely, with Alcantara on the doors, metal effect as well. Actually, I say metal effect, metal trim, and also leather there on the top of the door panels. So yeah, everything back here feels really lovely and comfortable. And I think it's very quickly, we have a little look at that boot. Now, opening the boot of your GV60 will present you with 432 litres of space. Now, that is less than its other Hyundai Group cousins, but it's more than, say, a Ford Mustang Mach-E. Now, when you get the boot open, you find you've got a nice wide square load area. Yes, it is a little bit shallow. It does remind me a lot of the Ionic 5, but you can get a couple of suitcases in there or a few weekend bags. What I like as well is that there's hardly any boot lip, so loading any large bulky items will be really easy. Now, it's not devoid of features either. We have got a 12-volt socket, we have got some sturdy tethering hooks, and we can actually move the tonneau cover back a couple of notches so you can actually recline the rear seats. That is a feature I forgot to mention when I was sat back there. But what I like as well is that you have got storage underneath the boot floor. In order to put things like your charging cable, you have got the V2L system on this particular car. It is an optional extra, and you have got things like your tyre puncture repair kit, which is very handy. However, having a little look back here, it doesn't look like you can get the tonneau cover underneath the boot floor, which is a little bit disappointing. And I have got one final bag here, which is for my Type 2 charging cable, because that won't go underneath either. But you can get the seats almost completely flat, which is actually really beneficial. So if you want to load any large bulky items, of course you can do. But yeah, all in all, this is actually going to be perfect for young families or couples. It's going to be more than ideal for your weekly shop. But yeah, it is a practical car, just not the best in class. And on that note, I think it's time we take this GV60 for a bit of a drive. So once you get driving in the GV60, first impressions are really positive. It's really easy to drive, it's very comfortable, and it feels like a premium product. Now, I kind of class these cars more as big hatchbacks rather than crossovers or SUVs. So when it comes to all-round visibility, for the most part, it's actually really good. I've got a great view of the road ahead. The A-pillars are quite thick, but I've not found myself looking around them at any junctions. I have got the cameras for wing mirrors on this particular car, and I am slowly getting used to the fact that the screen is there, but it'll only take a little while, and next thing you know, it becomes second nature when you see them there. I have driven a GV60 with traditional or conventional wing mirrors, and they do help with all-round visibility. Then if I look over my shoulder, I do find there is quite a pronounced C-pillar there, which does create a bit of a blind spot, and rear visibility is a little bit mixed. It's okay, I mean I can see behind me, but we have got a split rear screen design, and that's basically just in regards to the aerodynamics of the vehicle. Kind of reminds me of the Honda Civic in that regard. Now, I mentioned about the C-pillar and the blind spot. Now, I'm not too bothered about it because there's actually been like 4 safety systems or 4 areas in the car where I've gotten warnings about blind spot detection, which is obviously a very good thing. Now, firstly, because this is a Hyundai Group car, we've got your blind spot cameras when you're changing lanes, and that comes up on the digital dash. I really love that feature. But also, I get on the little screen here for the wing mirrors a warning about somebody in my blind spot. I get it on the head-up display and also on the digital dash. So that's 4 areas where you receive warnings about someone being in your blind spot. So some people might class that as overkill, but actually I think that's really good, because in a car like this, or just in any car, safety is going to be a priority. So I do love that feature, and again, it kind of shows the amount of technology that Genesis have put into this new GV60. But going back to first impressions, yeah, as soon as you start driving this, it just feels lovely. Now, there are 3 trim levels available in the GV60 range, and it's a little bit different compared to other models in the Genesis lineup, and it kind of shows where Genesis are kind of aiming the GV60 when it comes to a customer base. So we've got the entry level premium, and then we have the sport, and then the sport plus. So there's no luxury trim level available on the GV60, but I drove the premium yesterday, and well, I was hugely impressed by it. It felt very premium. If, of course, you want to go for a sportier version of the GV60, you can, of course, go for the Sport and Sport Plus. But it also comes down to what you want from your GV60. So, for example, if you're after range, if that's a priority for you, then go for the entry-level premium, because you get one motor with it, it's rear-wheel drive, and it has the longest range. If you want the most performance out of your GV60, obviously go for the Sport Plus. You've got a 0 to 60 time of 4 seconds, and you even have a drift mode as well. So I mean, you're pretty much catered for when it comes to performance and fun. And if you want a little bit of the two, then of course just go for the Sport. But I'm not going to give you any kind of recommendations, because it comes down to, like I just said, what you're after in the GV60. But yeah, in terms of the premium, I was hugely impressed by it, and this Sport Plus, which I'm driving right now, well, I've kind of been involved in the morning commute traffic, so I can't really tell you if it's the performance car as of yet, but we'll get onto that when we get to some twisty roads here just outside Frankfurt. So when it comes to powering the GV60, it's going to sound quite familiar if you have looked at cars such as the Kia EV6 and Hyundai Ionic 5. So under the floor, we've got a 77.4 kilowatt hour battery, same as what we got in the EV6 and what will be in the model year 22 Ionic 5. And it's just one battery, and basically you get different power outputs depending on what trim level you go for. But if you go for the Sport or the Sport Plus, you do get twin motors and all-wheel drive as standard, and if you go for the entry-level premium, you get rear-wheel drive and one single motor. So when it does come to the performance side of the Ionic 5, it's actually very decent. So firstly, I mean, when it comes to the kind of brake horsepower side of things, the premium gets 226 brake horsepower, the Sport 315, and the Sport Plus, which is what I've got here, a mighty 483 brake horsepower, which means when it comes to performance, or 0 to 62 time, it actually takes 4 seconds to get from 0 to 62, 5.5 for the Sport and 7.8 for the premium. So there's actually a very decent amount of performance available to you. But of course, this is an EV, so range is going to be an important factor for you. And as I mentioned, if you want the longest range, you've got to go for the premium, because with that one, you do get a range of 321 miles, or up to, I should say. If you go for the Sport, that then decreases down to 292, and the Sport Plus, a couple more miles there of 289. So there's actually a decent amount of range there. It's very similar to what we get with a lot of cars in this class and segment. So it really kind of, again, comes down to what you're after. And if you're after range, and that's an important factor for you, then of course go for the premium. Get yourself a, a slightly lighter car with that single motor. Now, of course, in this day and age, it's not just the range that people are interested in when it comes to their electric vehicle. It actually is now charging as well, and what the charging performance is like. So with the GV60, it does actually impress. Now, starting right at the bottom, if you are using a 3-pin socket, it's going to take you 38 hours to go from 10% all the way up to 100. So that's pretty much your weekend kind of accounted for. Now, if you use a 7 or 11 kilowatt charger, I think it's actually 11 going with what Genesis say, then it should take around 7 hours and 20 minutes, but that's going from 10 to 80% with the GV60. If you're then going to use a 50 kilowatt charger, and again that's 10 to 80%, that will take you around 73 minutes. And then you've got the super hyperchargers, the 350 kilowatt chargers, and you can go from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes. In fact, the team at Genesis were very coy in actually doing their presentation about the GV60, and actually it took 18 minutes. So the time it took to do that presentation would have been the time it take to get the GV60 from 10 to 80%. So thank you, Genesis, for that. That was actually really quite quirky. But that's actually very impressive from the GV60, and it is something that Hyundai Group as a whole are very proud of with their EVs, or at least their latest generation of EVs on this new modular platform. So yeah, if you're considering a GV60 and you're concerned about charging, you don't need to be. So what's the ride, refinement and handling like in the GV60? Well, ride-wise, I've been hugely impressed by it. I mean, I was hugely impressed by the Ionic 5. I openly said it's more comfortable than a Polestar 2, and I just expected, well, more from the GV60, and it has delivered. It deals with the bumps and imperfections really well. Yes, you do get some booms and vibrations coming into the cabin, but for the most part, it deals with them really well. I could easily do a long journey in the GV60 and come out the other end feeling lovely and relaxed. And then we move on to the refinement side. So, well, I think this could be the German roads, but I can't hear anything. I got no tyre roar, I've got no wind noise. Granted, I'm doing about 45 miles an hour. I will mention on the motorway I did get a little bit of wind noise off the A-pillar, but that was it. There is actually a rattle in here, but it's not from the car, it's actually from my bag, which is in the boot. Which is weird that I can hear it all the way in there, but that's the only thing I can hear. It's an absolute pleasure and a joy driving the GV60. It's so relaxing. And I mean, I'm doing now 70 kilometers an hour. I'm just going to up it to 80. And again, there's just that whirring, that EV whirring sound that we're becoming accustomed to now. Refinement wise, this is really, really lovely. Now, of course, it's not all perfect. If you do drive on a poor road surface, you do get a bit of tyre roar coming into the cabin, which is again the same as what I experienced with the Ionic 5. But it's a lot more kind of isolated away from the cabin in here, so as a result you still have that premium feel. And again, this is a brilliant long range cruiser as a result. It's just a very comfortable car to be in. So what's the handling like in the GV60? Well, I got it in sport mode, and I think I got a couple of corners coming up, so let's find out. So foot down, turn in, it's staying lovely and flat. There's no roll whatsoever. It's nice and responsive. It's just doing everything that I want. And because of that all-wheel drive system, I don't think this is going to let go. I think this is just going to hold on for dear life. Of course, one of the new features on the GV60 is a drift mode. Now, I'm not going to be able to use that drift mode here on the launch of the GV60, not on the public roads at least, but it's kind of good to know that there's a fun factor in the car, and that Genesis as well are kind of showing the type of audience they want to push the GV60 at. And as a result, you've got a car that, when you've got it in comfort mode, is lovely and refined. It's very comfortable and will get you from A to B no problem. But if you want a smile put on your face, put it into sport mode, feel the side bolsters pinch your kidneys to hold you in place, and then just let the car do its thing. And as a result, it's really lovely. There's a nice amount of weight in the steering, but when you got it in comfort mode, it's light enough so it's a doddle to park. But all in all, it actually just covers all areas for you. It's easy to drive on a day-to-day basis, it's easy to park, and then when you want to put your foot down and you want to put a smile on your face, you put it into sport mode and you just put your foot down and you can just make full use of that power, that torque and performance. And as a result, you've got a car which on the outside looks cute and quirky, but on the inside there can be a seriousness about it, especially when you want to know what the guys of Genesis have done in terms of developing this car. And as a result, yeah, you've got something that's pretty special. So just to sum up on there, handling wise, really lovely in the GV60. So I'm not going to talk about kind of niggles or anything like that because I've not had the car for long enough. But essentially now, what are my thoughts on my first drive of the new Genesis GV60? Well, I'm hugely impressed by it. It's a really lovely car. It is a very premium feeling car, especially when even compared to the Ionic 5 and the EV6. Now granted, I'll be honest, I've sat in an EV6, I've not driven one yet, but this feels hugely impressive. This feels like an Ionic 5, but several levels above it, because there is that familiarity with the cockpit, with the cabin. Of course, it's on the same platform, so there is going to be that familiarity and that similarity there. But this feels like a much more premium product. The fact that everything you touch feels premium. If it looks like metal, it is metal. If it looks like Alcantara, it is Alcantara. And as a result, you've just got something which feels really quite special. So if you are after a premium electric vehicle, you can't go wrong with the GV60. You are going to have something that looks incredibly quirky, looks very special. You are going to have an exclusive kind of feel as you drive the GV60, and of course you're going to have the customer service that you get from Genesis. And I know for a fact, because when I had the GV80, you're going to get the looks. You're going to have people looking and asking what it is you're driving. And as a result now, I think you'll be hugely impressed with the GV60. I do recommend, if you've got any hesitations at all, get yourself into the driver's seat. Have a sit down, see what you think about it. Because I think you will be hugely impressed. You'll love the interior, you'll love the premium feel. Yes, you'll kind of go, that's from a Kia EV6, that's from an Ionic 5. You can see the similarities there. Of course, they're going to be there. They're all on the same platform. It is a Hyundai Group car. But when I got into this, I didn't care, because everything else, the kind of, as I was saying to one of the guys, one of the team from Genesis last night, it's the bits in between. Where you'd usually get a bit of hard plastic, it's not, it's a premium material. And as a result, you just feel this is much more special. There's no creaks, there's no rattles. I even had a demonstration of the Bang & Olufsen sound system yesterday, and they had it turned right up, and I put some of my music on, and well, my music isn't exactly kind of, you know, orchestra type of music. Well, some of it is, but there were no vibrations, there were no rattles. So it shows that when this car was developed and put together, Genesis knew what they were after. And as a result, I think they have got a winner here. And I do think you've got to sit in the driver's seat. You've got to come and have a look at the car, see it in the metal, because any reservations you have about it, I think will very quickly be cleared, and you'll be hugely impressed by it, because I know I am. So everyone, I hope you've enjoyed my first drive review of the new Genesis GV60, because I know I have really enjoyed this car. As always, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notifications icon, you know the drill. But if you've got any questions about the GV60, please put them down in the comment section below, and I will do my utmost to answer them for you. Of course, I'm on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. I might even give TikTok a go, because I hear that's what all the young people are using nowadays. But anyway, on that note, stay safe, maintain your distancing, wear a mask, and I'll catch you all in the next video. So take care everybody, and bye-bye.